Making mistakes on a cosplay build can be incredibly frustrating and can easily take you from excited and energized to just sad and exhausted. And I've certainly had my fair share of cosplay struggles and failures. So I wanted to share with you my top 5 tips on how to deal with cosplay failures and mistakes. Tip number 1. Take a step back. And I mean this actually literally. We often are working like super duper up close when we're working on our cosplay or sewing, and it can be easy to lose the clothing for the seams. Taking a step back puts it into perspective. Your mistakes and your failures will often literally seem smaller. In theater, they talk about something called the 10-foot rule, which is basically just the idea that the audience is like viewing a costume from 10 feet away. So you want it to look good from 10 feet away. Some same sort of thing holds with a lot of cosplay. Your photos are going to be taken from a distance, and if anybody is super close to you, you may have some other issues going on. Taking that step from back from your costume can help put those mistakes and those failures into perspective. It can help you see what's actually a big deal and what, with a little bit of distance, isn't such a problem after all. Tip number 2, take a break. This might seem kind of obvious and like a little like, why are you putting this on the list? But breaks are really important. And I mean both breaks throughout the cos crafting session that you might be working in, as well as between sessions and different parts of your cosplay. In particular, taking a break after you've had something go horribly wrong, a big mistake or big failure can be really important. Often I want to just like jump right into working on the next piece, to trying the thing again, but I'm really not going to be in the best mindset. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm frustrated, and I'm actually more likely to make mistakes retrying the same thing and just like get stuck in this vicious cycle of cosplay. Taking some time before restarting or trying to fix a mistake can give me some time to percolate over the ideas of how I might want to try and approach this problem differently. It'll also help me calm down and approach it more fresh and more energized and less likely to make mistakes again. Similarly, when I'm working on a cosplay, I often have different parts of a cosplay to work on. So sometimes taking a break might just mean taking a break from that one specific thing that you're working on. I'll have parts that I'm more confident in or are easier to work on, and a great way to take a break without losing momentum on the cosplay is to switch to a different part of the project. Maybe something easier that you're more familiar with, or just another piece that you happen to be particularly excited about, and then go back to the place where you had your failure, you had your mistake, and try again, having a little bit more of a fresh brain and with a win and a success under your belt because you just finished a portion of your project. Tip number 3, compare yourself. And I'm going to say this with a bit of a caveat because this is something that I find helpful but may not be helpful for you. So try it, but use it with caution. I often find when I'm working on a project, I get incredibly focused on trying to find a very specific solution to a very specific problem. I really want to make my costume as accurate and authentic as possible, which can sometimes mean things that are defying the laws of physics and don't necessarily work in the real world, where I'm a human being that needs to take my costume on and put it and off again. I find that when I'm stuck on something and I can't get over that hurdle, looking at how other cosplayers have approached the same problem, either just by looking at pictures of finished builds or even directly seeking out tutorials and resources about the specific issue that I'm having, helps me get a few different ideas of how I might approach that problem next, and also can help me accept the things that may not be possible about my costume. Seeing other cosplayers struggle with the same issues might mean that I am more okay with saying that's something that I can let go, and I don't have to try and make that a reality in this particular build. Similarly, if I have an idea for how I might approach a problem or an issue with my costume, looking at how that turned out in other cosplayers' works can give me an idea before I dive in and put all that time and effort in, if that's a result that I'm going to be happy with. Now, if you do try this, again, be cautious. If you find yourself getting particularly negative about yourself or even the cosplayers that you're looking at, this may not be the strategy that you want to employ to help you with your cosplay mistakes or failures. I find it can be comforting, but it may end up just being frustrating for you. Number 4, put it all together. From my experience, the individual parts of my cosplay never look as good as the whole thing together or components of the cosplay put together. Like whenever I wear a wig, if I don't have any of the makeup on, I'm like, ooh. If I'm wearing a skirt but without any of the proper structure underneath, or a shirt without the corset underneath, it just like kind of feels weird. So If I'm feeling particularly discouraged about a cosplay or part that I'm working on, or I think I've made a mistake, before I immediately assume that everything is awful and I need to start again, I put as many of the pieces that I have together and on. I get as close to what I think I'll be doing in the final version, like putting makeup on, or sometimes it involves a lot of pins because like fasteners aren't ready and things like that. But it gives me the most context for what the individual pieces that I feel like is a problem looks like in the context of the other piece. And maybe the concern that I had about the size or the scale actually isn't that big of a deal when I see them all together. Plus, it tends to make me energized and excited and refreshes my joy for working on that particular build. Tip number 5, quit. And yes, I genuinely mean this. It's important to realize that even an unfinished cosplay or a failed cosplay is still a success. You learned something from it. You have skills to take to your next build, even if they're just what not to do next time. Most often, we're working on cosplays for fun, or fun is an element of a cosplay that we're working on. And if that build is something that you're no longer enjoying and is instead a source of pain and anger and frustration, it may be time to move on and try a new project. You can always find other uses for any of the parts that you did manage to make or materials that you purchased for this cosplay. Maybe you find a character with similar color palette, reuse fabrics, or the same wig. And of course, you can also come back to this cosplay when you feel comfortable or ready to do it again. Maybe when you've had more experience with a particular skill or worked more with a given material. All of this is just to say it's okay to stop working on a cosplay, because forcing yourself to finish something that you're supposed to be doing for fun when it is no longer fun is ultimately going to lead you to an unpleasant experience and a project that you're just not happy with. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. Let me know down in the comments below, what are your tools and strategies and techniques for moving past cosplay, failure, and mistakes? And what else do you want to know about cosplaying and crafting, or general questions that you might have for me? As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to get notifications about videos, like this video for all that algorithmy goodness, and you can also watch me live on twitch.tv/randomtuesday, where I'm often working on cosplay, happy to answer questions. And of course, if you're looking for more cosplay patterns and resources, you can check those out on my website, randomtuesday.com. And as always, thank you to each and every one of my patrons over on Patreon who made this video and many cosplays and other things a reality. Your support is incredibly appreciated. If you're able to do so, any monthly amount is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.